do want to thank Phil for the privilege of many, many years and for his support throughout all those decades, both financial and intellectual and social. And so I'm very happy to be able to be here today and thank you for all those many, many years.
We want to do. And so we came up here. And he said, almost in passing, oh, if you go over to Stanford, which is very close, you know, look up Phil Hanawalt and give him my regards. I had no idea who Phil Hanawalt was. We knew nothing about DNA repair and whatever, so we said, okay. So we came up, we saw the microscope.
Into the lab, and I made the happy announcement to him that I was about to get a copy, but I didn't say that. I said, Phil, I want to tell you, I'm about to have a hairy baby. I can still remember the look on his face. What is this person saying? But Phil had a sabbatical, you know, and he decided to spend it not going away somewhere, but actually working in the lab. And so this is Phil back in the lab and Phil front in the lab.
But his wife said no. Absolutely not. Because in America they sue for anything. So after a year, I asked Jim, could you go check the medical record? Maybe it's a minor thing. So he went over to the medical records, pulled the file, and that day, sure enough, so somebody came in and complained, this damn rollerblader just cut me off.
Did I really do that?
Yes, it said you have to go down your basement because it's over a year.
Don't tell anybody!
What says here doesn't leave.
I saw something which was very interesting. I saw Brazilian, beautiful Brazilian dancer, women. And suddenly, I saw Phil jumping on the stage. The stage was high like that. And Phil...
You know, I used to sit right next to Moss, this, 25 years ago, I would hear about the garden hose and the tank, like for on and on. Nothing's changed. You've almost solved the problem.
So, the best present I ever got was the Christmas after our cell paper was accepted. Phil was my secret Santa. And I brought this to the last one, so I'm not going to spend much time on it, but he made me this just incredible thing, and I'm just going to read the poem because it's so wonderful. For me, is it a bagel with locks? No, it's a special kind of box. Cribno? No, no. Top? Nah. It's a chromatin box. And in it is a miniature copy of the paper that was in press, and all wonderful Phil jokes. The strand that is red, in red. And when I graduated, he gave me a furry cumin, because I'd been working on furry cumin. And I've kept these in my desk wherever I've been as kind of talismans my whole career. So another thing that Phil, I don't know if you remember this, but when I was in the lab, you said that you were going to retire young, early. You were going to retire early and get yourself apprenticed to a cabinet maker. And now that you are retiring so young, since you gave me this wonderful box,
Give me a cabinet.
I have one for you. And so this is for your new career in cabinet
Okay.
Wow.
So will you validate the article that you gave me to read right away that very first morning?
John Cairns.
John Cairns with the pictures of the DNA chromosome. And what Phil told me was this was really ambitious science because the man did the experiment and then put the plates away for months into a -80 and then exposed them to see what would happen, all right? And how about that? Now, you will notice that it has Yale Biophysics Laboratory stamped all over it. I have never been to Yale, so I could not have booted that copy. I'm not giving it back because Mats told me that anything I confess to here cannot and will not be used against me.
Had a class for undergraduates to do research, and it was in the Hanawalt lab. And so for me, that was just phenomenal. It was a great experience. Mimi was so encouraging. Phil was so encouraging. Well, one characteristic, as we've already learned, is that Phil is really ahead of his time. And I want to tell you a little bit about that as far as the repair pouch. In, I guess, the first acknowledged spot where repair synthesis is suggested and almost enunciated is in the Pettijohn and Hanawalt paper of 1963.
This photograph is different than Alan's. I think I see Phil here as a Roman emperor. This is scientific heroes, and in his mind I see the words Veni, Vidi, Vici. And I think it's maybe the best description for your scientific power.
But it's also started a friendship that we've had for the last 50 years. And finally, shown you can teach an old dog new tricks. Thank you, Phil.
I immediately said yes, because the opportunity to attend would give me a chance to recognize the contribution Phil Hanawalt is currently making to the journal DNA Repair.
When we start just thanking, in fact, Graciela for many things, for all the science, but also because I don't know if you all know, but Phil met Graciela in Brazil, and that's one of the reasons Phil comes so often to South America, which is great for all of us. Okay, so
They like to crush their competitors.
So typically, for example, now that I have my own lab, when I asked people if they presented a poster at the conference, they said, did you have any interesting conversations with people at your poster? And the normal answer is, yes, Phil came by and we talked for 30 minutes.
Alan mentioned earlier about the sort of the editing, the papers that would come through the lab. You know, Alan would make his comments, Phil would make his comments, Graciela would chime in, Anne would make some. And how I knew when we were done was when the changes came back to what I had originally written.
Event, and I oftentimes think of Phil and Graciela very fondly, and I'm really very touched whenever I recall this story, because I don't know of many people that when an unfortunate and annoying and time-consuming event happens, they would go out of their way to make sure that the instigator of the problem doesn't know about it, so that they don't feel sad. So thank you very much, Phil.
Actually, you sort of opened my eyes at that point, and I just sort of fell in love, sadly, really, with transcription coupled repair. It's been a rough run for like 20 years.
Steve at one point came up to me and said, "Dad, where's the bathroom?" And I looked down and said, "Oh, Steve, see that rock down there? 4 foot high rock right by the water?" I said, "That's the bathroom." "Okay, Dad." A few minutes later, I heard everybody laughing. Steve had climbed up on that rock and was peeling off into the ocean.
person in Europe who then, I did some name dropping about who had suggested that I contact the person, and I right away had a collaboration letter for my grant.
Remarkable parts of my team for over 3 decades, and what has gone on in my lab is indelibly marked with their contributions. Their mentoring, their ideas, their contributions to the experiments, and I couldn't have been more fortunate in having such people. But I especially also want to thank my wife and collaborator, commentator.
Graciela.
To me, this is going to get really messy, I guess. My undergraduate advisor, Colleen Kavanaugh, and now my PhD advisor. By the way, we haven't talked about how this is, we're meeting at the Pacific Coast Highway, basically, in
Yes.
here.
I've always wanted to stop and take a picture.
Yeah, well, we should. And so, but I think what we need to do, all of us, in honor of Phil, is make thymine Lestat the hot topic for the future of studies. I don't know how to do this, but I'm happy to help in whatever conspiracy people come up with in order to make every student want to work on thymine Lestat.
I approached Phil in a meeting. He mentioned that he had a student who would be interested in doing a postdoc at Stanford, and Phil had said something to the effect that he never had a Swiss postdoc in his life. So, and as I've just said, by the time we left the lab, Jenny was heavily pregnant. So in that sense, my time in the Hanawalt lab was very productive.
I spent a week literally walking around Stanford, knocking on doors, asking if I could join their lab. And so I was meeting with different people, and Phil, I think, had just got dumped by Renee, who had left the lab. And so he was a little down, and so I got an opening with him, and he said, sure, maybe you can join. I got a space now, and of course the catch was you had to work on thymine Lestat.
I know Phil because what he hasn't told you is failures. We all know that the genome has some 10 to the 9th nucleotides. It copies it. It's an enormous problem for a normal cell to copy 10 to the 9th nucleotides and make only one or a few mistakes. So we developed the field of DNA repair.
So anyway, I went to this meeting and I was walking along and I emerged from behind a poster to discover myself staring at this name that said Priscilla Cooper, except it was attached to somebody with shimmering blonde hair and a radiant smile. I was so paralyzed, the best I could do was blurt out, "You're Priscilla." So we go across the room. Meanwhile, I'm rapidly aging Phil. So now he's got the gray hair and the wise look and so on. And then, of course, I met him. Anyway.
This is the first major meeting I went to. I met Phil for the first time. I was very intimidated until he did what he's done with most of you, which is to treat me like a peer, not a little underling student, and proceeded to tell me how much he had enjoyed reading those first two papers that I had written with Larry, and I could not believe it.
Phil was not personal, it was certainly life-changing.
I first met Phil through his written words when I was a graduate student, where he discovered nucleotide excision repair and showed that synthesis occurred following damage, etc., etc.
And I think I speak on behalf of everybody when I say we all feel a great gratitude to have crossed paths not only with an amazing scientist, but a truly wonderful person in so many levels. So thank you very much.
A couple of days ago, Phil was really down in the dumps.
Just like